G'day ladies and gents, and welcome to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome aboard the Seafire 17. Now the Seafire 17 is the first naval-based Spitfire available in the new British Fleet Air Arm, added in patch 1.49. And traditionally, when I do a first video on a new aircraft that's just been added in stock format, I would generally do it as a first impressions. But honestly, I'm not going to with this aircraft. I'm just going to show you a fairly good battle. Now the reason why I'm not going to do a first impressions video on it is because you've likely flown this aircraft before patch 1.49. What do I mean? Well, I'm almost positive at this point that this aircraft's flight model is a straight up copy-paste of the Griffon Spitfire 14. It has slightly different armaments, but in terms of flight characteristics, it is identical. So I started this engagement by dipping under a BF-109 that had an energy advantage on me, rolled it over. We've got an ME-410 just ahead. I'm going to move to engage it first. It's been engaging AI at altitude. Now the reason I'm going for the 410 first is it's sitting almost in the centre of the map, and it's at the same altitude as our bombers at the moment. We have a number of B-17s in this match. I want to make sure this 410 isn't going to go after them, because, well, it's a B6R3. If it gets anywhere near the B-17s, the B-17s are going to die. Take the lead, short and controlled burst, and an easy kill. Now, the armaments of the Seafire 17. Two 20mm Hispano Mark V cannons, with 240 rounds of ammunition, and 4 Browning 30 caliber machine guns with 1,400 rounds of ammunition between them. So this plane's really a bit of a bitzer. It's got the flight model of the Griffon Spitfire 14, but it has the armament layout of the Spitfire Mark 9, but with the modern Mark V Hispanos rather than the Mark IIs that the Mark 9 carries. Just keeping an eye on this Focke-Wulf 190 that's overhead at the moment. Looks like the 190 ahead of me has just been smoked. He's burning just nicely, so I'll ignore him. However, we do have a 109, 2.5 kilometers ahead, trailing smoke, and nobody appears to be on it, so I'm going to go down and smack him on the head and get rid of him. Looks like the 190 is playing with one of our Bearcats, and there's a 410 down here as well, so if I can get rid of this 109, I might be able to skip straight through and engage the second 410 as well. The 410 doesn't seem too interested in the fact that I'm coming down to play with them at the moment, which is good. Just under a kilometre now on the BF-109. It's a G model. I'm guessing a G6 for this battle rating. That's unfortunate for him. Cuts in underneath, which is nice. It's 700. I can't turn it over too fast or I'll rip the wings off the Spitfire. Just do a long, wide turn to bleed a little speed. He goes into the vertical. Again, I can't get a good angle on him, so I'll go into the vertical and just roll it over and dive. And this was a pretty lazy engagement at this point. There's nobody else in the area. It's just me and this G model. And I take it back. It's a G10, not a G6. Now it's dead. So a pretty easy second kill, and I'm starting to look for new targets. I haven't seen anything red floating around here at the moment. And I take a shot from behind, and oh, there we go. I have 2 behind me. Okay. It looked like a G6, and it looked like the 410 that I spotted down here earlier on was taking notice of the fact that I was here. He just hadn't engaged me yet, so got to pick the next target. Now, the 410 has all the firepower in the world, but he is the least dangerous aircraft here. He's too slow. I can outturn him easily. So, first things first, we're going to deal with the G6. And the G6 pilot has actually made this relatively easy on me because he's done a couple of loops, and the G6 is not the greatest aircraft for a maneuvering battle. He's blown a lot of his energy. He's now at low altitude. He's got very little energy going for him. Quite easy to close the distance. 500 meters out. He pulls it into the vertical. His plane is so slow he's almost stalling it out on this climb, and he just made a target of himself. Second burst just to put him out of his misery. Third kill. So next target will be the ME-410. Now he's ran across the lake to get some distance and has wound up running into one of our F8Fs, has turned back around and is heading back in our direction. So he is my next target. And that's when things got very interesting very quickly. Narrowly avoid shots from a BF-109 K4, and you may remember Sabur 20 from a couple of my other videos, an exceptionally good pilot. The last time he made it on the channel I shot him down. I think he's looking to even the score. Now Sab's doing the 109 right here. He pulls it straight back in the vertical, and I'm spending so much time following him I get hit by a burst of flak and I panic. It's actually probably worth mentioning at about this time that I was rather intoxicated while flying this fight. It was a Saturday night. Sue me. So Sab's sitting in the vertical above me at the moment. I've got no way of getting to him, but that 410 did just make a pass on me. He was easy enough to avoid, and it looks like he's trying to run back to base, so I'm not going to let that happen. And I have a bit of a window here as Sab's just ran into an F8F that was sitting at altitude, so he's now engaged in a fight. I have the opportunity to take out the 410 and then work out exactly how I'm going to get up there to begin the fight with him. And in terms of kills to deaths, both teams are actually relatively balanced at the moment. We're doing fairly well across the board for number of players left alive. The 410's trying to hit me with his tail gun. 410 tail guns are, well, I'm not afraid of them, let's just put it that way. 82, oiler is going into the amber, engine is overheating. Actually, that's one thing I can mention about the Seafire 17, it will overheat relatively quickly if you don't have the radiator upgrade. Once you have the radiator upgrade, it's much like most Spitfires, it will take quite some time to get into an overheat, and it will cool down incredibly rapidly. When you don't have the radiator upgrade, it overheats very quickly, and it actually takes a bit of effort to cool it down. Now, quick aim, short burst, kill number 4. So up until this point, it looks like everything in this match was going my way. Unfortunately, it wasn't. I just wasn't paying enough attention to what was going on. Sab's taken out the Bearcat that he's had at altitude. He has 2 more fighters left on his team. There are only 3 fighters remaining on the enemy team. There are now only 3 left on ours, including, well, not including the B-17. However, both the fighters on my team are actually under the 2 fighters from the enemy's team and are about to be destroyed. This is about to go me and a B-17 versus 2 109K4s and an A8. So a 3-on-1 battle in a stock aircraft that's low on cannon ammunition, has an overheating engine and an intoxicated pilot. Yeah, I really hope you guys weren't hoping for a happy ending on this one. So, Sab's already got me locked in and is closing in. I'm just cruising at 100%. I can't outrun his K4, not without the upgrades on this aircraft. I'm just trying to cool it down. I know he's going to get here soon enough. I need to be able to engage. Now, I'm heading back towards this Seafire because I'm hoping that I can get the 2 of us teamed up to engage Sab and any teammates that he may bring along to the party as well. And this is probably something that I don't show enough of on the channel. When you're going to go into an engagement that isn't something that's happened fast, you can see that you have an enemy approaching, how do you set yourself up for it? Well, this is what I do. I know Sab's approaching, I know he's going to be here soon, I'm trying to run the aircraft with the engines backed off a little bit, just leave it sitting on 100%, no WEP, so I have a chance to cool the engines down. This means I can WEP longer when he actually arrives and I actually need the power. I'm also trying to get what altitude I can. It's unlikely that I'm going to get above him. He's got a massive burst of energy here at the moment. If he wants to get more altitude than me, he can simply just pull up and he'll have it. I'm trying to get as much of this as I possibly can, so I have as much altitude for maneuvering space and for energy conversion as possible. Now, I do lift the nose up here and re-engage the WEP, because I notice he is diving down on the F8F that's over there at the moment. This gives me a limited opportunity to actually get above him. And this is part of the reason why I don't rush into combat. I take my time to set myself up when I see these sort of things happening, because sometimes something will happen that changes the combat situation and gives me a chance to actually take an advantage. So, rollover and vertical dive, 7.5 off Sab. He's seen me coming, he's opening up the throttles. Turns in hard directly underneath me to intercept the Bearcat. I'm not going to be able to follow that without pancaking, so pull out to level. Hard wing over. Trying to fall in on his 6. Just trying to pick a lead at the moment. I have no idea where the Bearcat's gone at this point, and I get a nice good hit there. I think I've actually taken off his rudder. Another burst across his tail. Some more hits with the MGs, lots of sparks, and I'm out of cannon. Now I see a burst of cannon fire go through just on my lower right there. I assume that's a Bearcat re-engaging behind me. But I was so busy concentrating, trying to hit Sab, I didn't see the kill feed come up. The F8F has just been shot down by a Focke-Wulf 190 A8 that I actually don't know has arrived right on top of me and Sab. And Sab was doing something very clever here. If you'll notice, he's going awfully slow for a K4. You know, have I done serious engine damage? Well, no, not at this point. What he's done is deliberately pulled back on the throttles, forcing me to slow down, making me easy prey for the A8 that I've just seen come into the area. And things aren't getting much better from here, because I'm now trying to keep a bit of speed up to avoid the A8 that is now all over my ass. I'm constantly inside of my conversion on this K4. 7.7s don't do huge amounts of damage as it is, but I'm only hitting him with one of the 4 7.7s that I have available. I'm simply too close to get all 4 guns on target at the same time. Now at this point I decide I've taken the rudder off of Sab's aircraft, so I'm going to turn wide here and re-engage the Focke-Wulf 190 A8. It needs to be dealt with next. However, I'm well aware that with all that spray, I'm down to 261 rounds of ammunition, so I've got to get this plane right on convergence if I'm going to be able to do any damage. I'm sort of hoping at this point that maybe I have done some damage to Sab's aircraft, but I haven't. As you can see, he's throttled up, pulled out to 2 kilometers, turned himself around, and he's now re-engaging while I'm on the A8. Now I'm incredibly low on energy here, the plane is having some stability issues, oil is overheating, and that 30mm cannon strikes home and takes the right aileron straight off the aircraft, so that has just severely hampered my manoeuvring capabilities as well. Now I was calling out for help here, desperately trying to get some attention, but I've only just realised at this point the only blue marker that I can see in the background is the B-17. The Seafire 17 that was visible in the background before has actually been taken out by another 109K4 that is currently en route to this fight. So the odds are starting to stack up against me here. Now I'm still trying to engage the A8 as it has working control surfaces. Why Sab's aircraft is as fast as it should be and is still relatively stable, he doesn't have rudder control anymore. That's going to make it harder for him to be able to aim his guns. The Focke-Wulf 190, however, is full combat capable, so I have to deal with it. If I don't deal with it first, I'm dead. Well, let's be honest here. At this point, I was probably dead anyway. I was just trying to get a 5th kill before the match ended, and Sab's turned around and made his way back in. Now, this is one of the few times that I would actually say that going head-on is the right move. I had nothing else I could do at this point. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. With only 7.7s, I dumped everything I could into the front of his plane, I've ripped his engine to pieces, he's now blowing smoke everywhere, but in return he's damaged both wings and blown the fuselage out as well, and the plane stability is, well, it has none. Take another massive hit from the A8 from behind, and just in a moment here, if you look at the top of the screen, you'll see the other K4 is just about to arrive in the fight. This was the end of the battle for me. So, I didn't win the end dogfight, but I can honestly tell you it was one of the most fun dogfights I've had this patch. I had an absolute blast, and thank you Sab for making just a bloody good fight. I actually really like it when I find you on the enemy team, because it means I know I'm going to have a good time this fight. One way or another, win or lose, it's going to be great. So, what about the Seafire 17? Well, as you can see, it's just another Spitfire. Does that make it a bad plane? No, it's a good plane. It's a Spitfire. But if you were hoping for something truly unique or different, you won't find it here. It's just more of the same. The only thing that's unique about it is what you see here. This thing can carry a land. And it can carry a land reliably. And this is both an advantage and a disadvantage for the Seafire 17. What it means is on maps when you're facing the Japanese in the Pacific, you're not reliant on the land-based runways that can be regularly camped by Japanese fighters. You can slip off the side of the map and come and put your Seafire down on a carrier with no issue, get a repair, and then redeploy into battle. The downside is it means on these maps you are going to be starting from the deck of the carrier. You will not be getting an air spawn as you would in a land-based Spitfire. This means every land-based Japanese fighter and every land-based Spitfire that is on your team are always going to have an altitude advantage at the start of the match. It doesn't matter how hard you climb, you're not going to get above the enemy team. You're not going to get above any of their land-based fighters that also have incredibly high climb rates. They will always be looking down on you. So you will need to get used to having an energy disadvantage at the start of every fight you get involved in. Is the advantage worth the disadvantage? Well, that's up to you to decide. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.